Hello, Simone. I'm excited to be here with you today. Today, we're going to be discussing the going on of Nepal. Because with all of the political stuff that's happening in the United States right now, I think we sort of been like broadly aware, like they had like a revolution or something in Nepal, right?
Nepal is seeing an uprising led not by political veterans, but by Gen Z.
Like, what happened with that? And what you're going to be surprised about is how relevant what happened in Nepal is to what's going to happen in most of the developed world as things continue down the pathway they're going now.
Teenagers and young adults are flooding the streets, furious over a sweeping government ban on their digital lifelines. Last week, authorities abruptly cut access to major platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
Well, and this is after what was happening in Indonesia. And this is also like as there are huge protests in the UK, we're seeing there's unrest is the thing now.
Well, yeah, unrest is the thing, and in many cases, it's for similar reasons. And so let's go in. What get your butt educated, people. Why don't you know about what? Maybe you do know about what's going on in Nepal, but it's interesting nonetheless. So, police crackdown on September 8th. Security forces fired live ammunition. Live ammunition. So we're talking about like how bad things are getting. Firing live ammunition, tear gas and water cannons, and rubber bullets into crowds near Parliament. So opening fire into a crowd, okay? They killed 19 people and injured 200 people.
And this was largely young students, wasn't it? I
Yeah,
think this was
mostly
also a lot
young
of young
students were the
people
ones who were killed.
Yeah.
And there's videos of graphic scenes, including children who were shot in the head, sparking nationwide outrage and curfews. So this was extreme. And if you're like, well, when do we get this in the US? When does the UK? You saw this million-man march on London that you know, anyone who watched the videos can tell was giant. Like they're trying to report it like 100,000 people, and it's clearly the UK is pissed. It's gotten way more pissed since you know, we talk about it being under occupation, because we're like, you know, what kind of country bans the flying of their own flags? A country that's currently under occupation. That's the only time you would do that.
Yeah.
A government would never be afraid of their own flag unless that wasn't who was represented by it anymore.
Exactly.
So when do they open fire on a crowd in London or Germany or Berlin, you know, or France? I think it'll happen eventually.
I mean, it helps that police officers in the UK don't have guns. They just have their little batons.
Yes, beaten with their fabulous batons.
The fabulous batons.
Aren't you afraid the fashion police will come and beat you with their fabulous batons?
Anyway, so protesters, this is September 9th, stormed and set fire to the Parliament, the Supreme Court, which burnt down the Prime Minister's office, Signa Dubar administrative complex, and politicians' private homes. Private properties like the Hilton and Hyatt hotels, along with media houses, e.g. Canterbury Publications, were torched.
Oh,
The
goodness.
tragic incident, it involved the burning alive of the former PN's wife.
Oh my gosh.
So we're talking quite a bit of violence here.
Carnage on both sides.
Jailbreaks and further clashes. September 9th and 10th, mobs broke into prisons in the Western districts, freeing over 12,500 inmates, including politician Rabbi Lamechi.
I mean, one imagines the prisons just cracked open from the inside, being that overstuffed. My God.
The army was deployed with shoot on sight instructions. Assaults on officials, and there's a video of this that I saw, was wild. The deputy PM and finance minister was beaten by protesters, and you see him like trying to run away and being like attacked by people as he tries to run.
In the video that has gone viral, Minister Paudel, 65, is seen running through the streets in Kathmandu, with the crowd of people chasing him. One of the protesters is seen kicking Paudel, who is also the country's deputy prime minister. Other protesters get hold of him as he seeks to escape through the river.
Other politicians' residents were vandalized, heightening chaos before the army restored order. So what instigated this? Are you aware of what instigated this, Simone?
I thought it was anger about widespread corruption, but
No. That is what they moved to afterwards. But what
Okay.
actually instigated it was the government tried to heavily regulate social media to prevent anything negative about the government from being shown on social media.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. Now do you see
the
why I said it
UK,
might be more-
UK did it right. You know, they did a whole like boil the frog, where it sounds like Nepal just you can't just crack down all at once.
Well, no, they've been doing this for a while. They had
have?
under the former king just complete control by the state of media. So this is more like they had a period of more liberal media.
But you
lot of
can't close
corruption.
Pandora's box. The internet is, if anything ever
A
was.
lot of corruption in the media, a lot of hiding stuff, which we'll go over, but the internet made it impossible. And so the government was trying to find a way to take control of that. And this is why, I always say anyone on the right who says we should be banning pornography, I really look at them with skepticism as a left-wing infiltrator, because you can't ban pornography without banning VPNs. And when you ban VPNs, you give the government total control of what people can see within your country. Because then the government gets to decide what's vulgar, right? You don't get to decide what's vulgar.
Totally.
The government gets to decide what's vulgar. And when the government changes, you lose control, right? They'll say, well,
Okay, not vulgar is a bad word, forbidden, because vulgar is basically just saying common or low class.
Well, that's what I mean, because they'll say, well, you banned this stuff because it could lead to, they'll say, well, you banned this types of pornography because it could lead to violence, or because it could lead to like social ills. Why shouldn't we ban racism? We define racism, by the way. Why shouldn't we ban transphobia? We define transphobia, by the way, because those things also lead to social ills and are vulgar and bad.
No. Vulgar is not the word then. Violent or damaging or dangerous.
Whatever. This is what we've seen in every country that goes down this pathway.
Okay.
It's a very bad thing to play around with. Okay. Not a fun potato there.
I'm just sorry. The word vulgar, like it's vulgar to eat a roll by just taking a bite out of it instead of taking a piece and putting it in your mouth after buttering it, right? Like vulgar is a word about class. It's not about government control and safety.
Okay, Mike, you are a Nazi, a grammar Nazi.
I am. Deal with it.
Social media use in Nepal is widespread. Analysis from digital advisory firm Kiopis found that there were 14.3 million active social media identities in Nepal at the start of 2025. If each user were a distinct person, that would account for about half of the country's population. But many social media platforms have repeatedly rejected directives from the Nepal government to register with the country's Ministry of Communication and Information. On September 29th last year, the Nepalese Supreme Court ordered all social media platforms in Nepal to register before operating so authorities could monitor undesirable content, which is, woo-wee! You're getting into some problems when they're using those sorts of broad words.
Seriously.
With the text of the court verdict made public last month. To comply with the order, the ministry issued public notice to social media platforms on August 28th, giving them 7 days to register. If they didn't, they would be deactivated in the country. Some companies like TikTok and message platform Viber did register before the deadline. TikTok had previously been banned to quote unquote protect social harmony, but the ban was lifted after the company agreed to coordinate with law enforcement to address crimes related to the platform. But others repeatedly continued to ignore the order. So when the deadline passed, the government banned 26 social media platforms, including Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, and Google-owned platforms like YouTube. Not great. The sweeping ban threatened to upend Facebook's recent content monetization launch in Nepal, which could help Nepali creators earn money. So this is also about earning money for the people who are, big career these days.
Yeah.
Our career, right?
Yeah.
Patreon, please.
Yeah, our career, if we are very lucky and we continue to work hard.
Yeah. And also threatened to impact other Nepali businesses that depend on social media platforms. It also raised concerns about media freedom in the country. Recent attempts, 2023 to 2025, the government increasingly targeted social media for political control. In November 2023, Nepal briefly banned TikTok, citing its role in spreading quote-unquote social disharmony amid videos exposing political corruption and inequality. So this is why they have banned things in the past, when things have started to spread showing political corruption and inequality, especially with the political class. The 2025 ban itself is a prime example, as it followed a Supreme Court ruling in August 2025 mandating the platform register to monitor misinformation. But it coincided with surging online criticism of Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli's administration over nepotism and economic failures. This led to violent protests, highlighting how such measures backfire, but underscore intent to curb anti-regime messaging. Companies like Facebook, Meta, YouTube, Google, and X, formerly Twitter, and others did not comply for a few reasons. Because I was interested in why they didn't just comply. I was like, you can just get You don't care about the people of Nepal, you turds. So the first reason was resistance to local presence and data sharing. Establishing a local office could expose them to greater government oversight, including demands for user data, content takedowns, or backdoor access, raising privacy and free speech concerns. Big tech firms often avoid this to prevent setting precedents in other markets where similar laws could lead to authoritarian control. Basically, they can never back down unless it's China and the market's big enough. That's the way it works with these companies. You know what's up?
It is, though. It totally is.
Operational cost burdens. Compliance might involve significant resources for smaller markets like Nepal, with around 30 million people, including hiring staff and attempting local regulations without clear benefits. For Meta, the ban disrupted recent initiatives like content monetization for Nepali creators. Principled stance and free expression. We all know that's not true. So, no, I don't buy that. From Facebook? Come on, buddy. So let's talk about the Nepo kids and the corruption thing, because the corruption complaints really come from the Nepo kids thing. So apparently there's like this.
So the thing, this was the same issue with Indonesia, wasn't it? This was.
I guess I didn't look at Indonesia in preparation for this.
Okay, my understanding was that another big issue also in Indonesia was that the Nepo babies of politicians who were ingratiating themselves were basically flaunting their extravagant lives on social media, causing a lot of resentment and anger, justified.
Yeah.
This is also happening in Nepal.
Yeah, apparently it's happening in Nepal. And you can look at the videos they post. I mean, they'd make me mad if I was an average citizen not earning much and the government was taking my tax dollars and using it so that their kids could live like kings and get, unique access to government positions.
Yeah.
Which is what you're seeing here.
Yeah, what I'm reading is like they're in some of these countries that are going through now corruption-related unrest. They are, for example, setting guaranteed incomes for their politicians that are like 5x the average income in the country. And they don't just own one house and live comfortably. They own like 5 houses. And, during these protests, there are politicians fleeing to their home in Singapore just to kind of let it blow over. And it's just making people increasingly angry.
Yeah. So these posts were shared using hashtags. Hashtag politicians, Nepo baby Nepal, and hashtag Nepo kids, and hashtag Nepo babies. One such post on TikTok has ranked more than 1.3 million views. It follows a similar trend in the Philippines, where the Nepo baby children of public works contractors and officials have been shamed online for flaunting wealth and luxury amid concerns of corruption and growing scrutiny on unfinished flood control projects. In Nepal, one protester told the BBC that the social media ban served as a reason for the demonstrators to gather, but it wasn't the true quote-unquote focus, which was on broader corruption. Quote, "We want our country back. We came to stop the corruption," end quote. Thoughts? I mean, I think this is the way we feel, right? Like when the reporter who we've been complaining about, who came to do a documentary at our house for like and we just had to scuttle a documentary project and just be like, I can't work with you. One of the reasons that always got to me is not only was she like a far left racist extremist, regularly talking like bad things about white people and men and stuff like this, but she had this whole narrative where she was this hugely disadvantaged individual who had overcome so much. And I believed it at first because she painted her picture like she grew up like a borderline homeless with like crack addicted parents. And then I look up and it was like, no, her parents were very successful New York socialites. Her mom ran an art gallery and her dad was a New York Times writer and a very accomplished
famous writer for some really like highbrow New York publication.
No, it was the New York Times.
It wasn't even.
Yeah. I think he did a few highbrow publications.
Yeah.
And them being crack addicts was more just like, my parents did drugs in the 80s, girl. Like, what are you talking about? That's not all the socialites in New York were doing drugs in the 80s. Like,
whose boomer parents didn't do a ton of drugs?
Yeah, your parents were hippies. Of course they were doing drugs. Like,
yeah, I mean, the reason why I probably don't have fetal alcohol syndrome, because my mom didn't know she was pregnant until her second trimester, was because she had gotten really, 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 really sick from drinking too much one night, and then just kind of was like, I'm going to take a break. And she didn't drink that much.
That could have been you making her sick, by the way.
No. I mean, it could have been me, but I mean, the way she put it was that like they were out for a night. They got a little out of hand, and she was like, "I'm gonna step back my drinking."
Okay,
for
well,
a
the wider point here being that she's like an influential person on the left. So you see this within the left is the most disgusting type of nepo baby in American politics, which is the nepo baby that doesn't believe that they're a nepo baby and
that
believes
believes they're a
being
victim.
discriminated.
Mm.
Yeah, and a victim.
Mhm.
There's nothing worse than somebody who has been given every advantage in life over other people and plays the card of a victim.
Do you think these nepo babies in like Nepal and Indonesia are doing that though? Because the impression I get is that they're not. They're just flaunting it.
I mean,
They're
to
the
me, that would make
new
them
rich kids of Instagram.
more insufferable. So to me, I mean, look, we got like a nepo baby Gavin Newsom in the United States who's like, I'm disabled. I have dyslexia. And we point out in our episode, Stop Being Retarded About Disability. I've got dyslexia and I don't even like consider it a disability. It's like irrelevant in terms of my life story when contrasted with like 12 other more serious disabilities I have.
And it does make people angry when like they deal with these things and much worse things all the time. And
yeah, well, this is the thing. Whenever you come out there playing this victim card, like this reporter who's like, oh, my childhood, all this. And it's like, you don't know our background with our parents. And maybe we don't talk about that because I don't want to cast my parents in a bad light. Like I could talk much more detailed about that if I wanted to, but I actively choose not to because I believe I have a strong relationship with my parents. I like them as people. And it's what people like that were doing in the 80s. And
it's
I can't
culturally normative.
And the reason I was so upset with her about it is she doesn't even have like a terrible relation with her dad, right? Like she's got a really strong relation, which is her surviving parent, a really strong relation. And I think the only reason I don't hold it against her that much is her dad has also written about this, playing the I'm a victim card. So I don't think she was the one who outed him for this, but again,
trained to also maybe view things that way. So
yeah, trained to do things that way instead
of people are getting mad. And I think a bigger dynamic here is you've talked in other episodes when you talk about dependency ratio cascades, how a really big undermining democracy issue that will arise as demographic collapse plays out, as older populations balloon and younger populations relatively dwindle, that people who become the majority of society and are net tax drains are going to only vote themselves more money, or at least the same amount of money. They're not going to scale things back for themselves, and they're going to be able to have that hold because they have more votes. I think this is showing a magnified version of the problem where government bureaucrats and policymakers are that, but worse. As the world falls apart and as the world burns and as dependency ratio cascades play out, even as, for example, maybe say the US government is going to just start an inflationary spiral by saying, oh, no, we're keeping Social Security. We're not scaling it back. We're keeping Medicaid, but then just printing a ton of money and kind of devaluing the dollar. So you are receiving what you were supposed to receive, but you don't have purchasing power anymore. At that point, though, I still think that government employees, and certainly to a greater extent, policymakers, are going to make sure that they somehow are receiving inflation adjusted dollars, and I think it's already happening even before fertility or dependency ratio cascades play out in countries like Indonesia and in countries like Nepal, where maybe things are falling apart, but people who have policy control are making sure that they get theirs because they can. And this is just a problem. It's a tragedy of the commons problem. Like the people who have the ability to steal the resources, when the resources become increasingly limited, they're going to do it. And then people are going to get mad. And then social order is going to fall apart. And we're going to see more of this, right? Like this is just the warm up.
But I think the reason why I mention this is one of the things that I find most disgusting, and I see this increasingly on the left, is the worst kind of Nepo baby institutional system is individuals who are Nepo babies pretend that they are discriminated, either minorities or discriminate. Like if you are a Nepo baby, that trumps minority status in terms of
that's a survival tactic because they want to protect themselves. And if they think that if they frame themselves as victims, they won't be attacked for their privilege. Because I think there's an understanding that as this unfair game is played out, people will want blood. They're going to want to eat the rich. and all in the name of victims. And so if you can masquerade as a victim while also unfairly appropriating resources, you can survive. And this is, people, morality is going to fly out the window. When people are starving and dying, people care a whole lot less about, oh, the optics don't look good here. Like, hey, maybe it's not that cool that I'm taking resources that I didn't earn, right? I mean, people already seem to have no qualms about that, but it's only going to get worse. And so, of course, people are going to do anything they can to make it look like they're innocent and to shield themselves from being targeted. This shouldn't surprise you, and it's inevitable, and it's going to happen, and it's a survival tactic because we've evolved to do things to help us survive, right?
Yeah. So to continue here, what's the Nepo kid movement? So the specter of social media going dark in Nepal also coincided with a growing online movement calling out Nepali Nepo kids. Nepo kids appears to have been borrowed from the Hollywood popularized term Nepo baby, which refers to the nepotistic practice of children of celebrities getting opportunities because of their familial connections. In recent days, Nepali citizens took to platforms like TikTok and Reddit to post images and videos of children of political leaders, including those of the former prime ministers and ministers, according to the Kasamudo Post, who they accused of using taxpayer money to fund lavish lifestyles and foreign trips. And I would note here, this for me is really important because a lot of people know I was born into a very wealthy family that very publicly lost all their money. But I was always told I was never going to inherit any of the family's money. And I could have gone to, like, my family had a gazebo that has our name at Harvard. And so I thought, when I was applying to Harvard Business School, because once you get into the interview, I'm like, 50% chance of getting in, and my family's ever going to help me. Now's the time, right, to call in a favor.
This is when you get to cash in your Nepo baby token.
I was like, I really proved myself. And my dad's like, I'm going to send them a letter telling them not to accept you. Now, I don't know if he did that, but he's like, it's really disgusting to attempt to get in through family connections to anything. And I ended up getting into Stanford, where I didn't have the same family connections. Now, I will note, my dad did go to Stanford undergrad. If you're not aware of how Stanford works, the Graduate School of Business is actually a separate institution than the undergrad. So being an undergrad legacy is completely irrelevant to being a graduate school legacy.
You're still going to catch so much shit for this, because at the same time, you're like, university system is corrupt. And then, you keep mentioning that you went to Stanford.
Well, it matters because I beat their get. Like, I was a Nepo baby in regards to having the educational background to even get into that. Like, would I have been able to get into that if I had a side job like you did while I was in my undergrad? Almost certainly not. Almost certainly not. I mean, Simone is much more diligent than I am. So she was able to have a side job and graduate top of her class from GW and get into Cambridge for graduate school.
Well, you ran like all the clubs at St. Andrews.
That's part of why I got into Stanford, is because I ran all the clubs. I did run a number, like all the science clubs. I ran the Neuroscience Society and the Psychology Society and the Biology Society.
You were just as busy as I was. Yeah, no, you were just as busy as I was.
I guess I was, but I was able to use all that for resume padding, Simone. That's like, come on.
And so was I.
I suppose. But the point here being is I try to take ownership even when I don't get the full advantages. Like, even if I don't get the money or anything like that, and I've had to make my own money, I still recognize the advantages I get from code switching. And most importantly, I recognize the genetic advantages my family gave me.
Yeah, that's key.
And I that was the thing that really bothered me about the reporter, because, obviously they're in this position of genetics don't matter because she's taking this far left position. I'm like, oh, really, really magnanimous of you, famous, documentarian who has famous creative parents, to pretend like you weren't born with a deck astronomically stacked in your favor. And I admit that about myself as well. The deck was astronomically stacked in my favor, but the biggest advantage I was born with was the genetic one. And I can, like, even though my family lost all the money, right? Like the central family where everyone, because parts of the money had been distributed before this, but then it was stolen because one person was managing all of the pools. $45 million, by the way, if you're wondering how much.
This is what people get for outsourcing their services. I just don't.
What we didn't want to, it had to do with, anyway, family politics stuff.
It was required, per trusts or something?
No, it had to do with old people in the family being old people and not listening to what all the young people were telling them.
Oh, yeah, no. But I'm still saying that they made the mistake of.
But the point I was going to make here was, even though they lost everything, so nobody in my family had cash transfers to the next generation, I point out, like, one of my cousins created the technology behind the Here movie, the really cool, like, AI technology that can fully create actors. Another one is running the company in Texas that does automated trucks,
Self-driving trucks. Yeah.
So no, admittedly, she married into the family.
Called Aurora.
Yeah. So she's not genetically related, but I mean, her husband was genetically related, and shows that women like her are choosing people like that. And then I forgot this last time I mentioned this, but 3 other members of my cousins or siblings run. Well, I know one runs a fund that's over $1 billion, and I think the 2 other run funds that are probably at least $500 million.
Yeah, they're all
So
really successful.
wildly successful. I am the big failure of the family. I am nobody failure. But this is what I mean. You don't get that kind of success over and over and over and over again, even though they didn't have the cards in their hands to start, right? So how did that happen over and over and over again? It's likely genetics. Whatever, that's just
ignoring that is deeply insensitive.
Well, it's deeply insensitive because it's not saying people are like, oh, are you saying they're genetically superior? No, I'm saying that for one of them to pretend that other people had an equal chance in life that they did is deeply insensitive, because you are ignoring an advantage that you had that other people didn't have. Ignoring a systemic bias in your favor is not magnanimous. It's psychotic and evil, and it allows you to act in a psychotic and evil fashion. But what was the result of all of this, right? Like what happened as a result of all the protests and everything like that?
Yeah.
There was a reverse of the social media ban. The primary trigger, the government's September 4th ban on 26 platforms, was lifted on September 9th amid escalating unrest. This directly addressed one of the protesters' core demands, restoring access, allowing freer communication. No other major laws were reversed, but the ban's rollback was framed as a regulatory concession under new registration requirements. Leadership changes. The Prime Minister, KP Sharma Oli, resigned on September 9th, marking the end of his 4th term and a significant win against perceived corruption of his administration. Several cabinet members followed suit, including the Home Minister, who stepped down over the ban, and others, including Deputy PM Finance Minister, who was reportedly beaten during the chaos. On September 12th, former Supreme Court Chief Justice Shalini Karaki was sworn in as Prime Minister, Nepal's first female PM, gaining support from Gen Z leaders.
Apparently it was like on Discord servers where the groundswell of support first emerged for her, which I think just also goes to show how on social media the younger generation in Nepal is, and how influential things like Discord now are.
Yep. The president, Ramachand Pali, refused to resign, but the interim government is tasked with stabilizing the country and preparing for potential elections in March 2026. Other gains, the government announced compensation of 1 million Nepalese rupees for the victims. I think this is for the death victims. Just how that is per death, that's $7,000. Really big spenders there. Nepal's National Day, September 19th, was canceled due to unrest. Broader commitment include dialogue reforms, though critics argue that these are superficial without addressing the root causes, like unemployment being 20.8% for ages 15 to 24.
Oh, good Lord.
The protests highlight Gen Z's influence, with some youth participating in post-unrest cleanups to restore normalcy and boost tourism.
Yeah, it's not gonna. The problem is still there. It's going to get worse. Although, what's Nepal's total fertility rate? Nepal TFR. How are they doing? 1.76. So they're better than the United States. That's good.
Well, they're also a lot poorer. Look at the average yearly income.
Yeah.
So, not great.
Acknowledged, fully acknowledged.
Nepal was where we were running that organization with US Aid or whatever that was trying to grow atheist groups, right? Like convert people to atheism.
What?
Yeah, if I remember correctly, it was in Nepal that US Aid was funding that.
Hmm.
Surely that made them like us more.
Yay.
No, but we're going to see this more and more. We're going to see this. And it's interesting to me because I think a lot of people predicted as the youth generation got smaller, we'd see less protests. And I think what we're actually seeing is they're more angry that they're being increasingly disenfranchised and the older generations are just don't care about them. And they're more agentic. So we'll see. Do they become more agentic or do they become AI sloths? I don't know, right? What's your read on this?
I think it's going to be really hard to tell. I think we are going to see in countries that demand control, we will see violence and pushback. Case in point here with Nepal trying to control social media. I think countries that basically resign control and allow for the creation of charter cities and basically sovereign territories, because they'll acknowledge, I can no longer afford a police force here. I can no longer do this. I can no longer do that. But I am going to allow basically sovereign states that are kind of like technically members of my country to just step in and now provide those services under their own governance with a great degree of freedom. I think that those countries will remain fairly stable, kind of going to a millet system like you saw in the Persian Empire. Yeah. Countries that devolve or evolve into a millet system or a city state or charter city system will see stability and a transition to that's more or less as peaceful as possible. And I think that countries that attempt to centrally control their population and exploit them to maintain, to get resources, et cetera, are going to see increasing levels of violence because people aren't going to stand for that. What are you, I mean, and I also feel like culturally and based on historical precedent, the United States is well positioned to enter a millet system era, a techno-feudal era. I don't know if that's actually going to happen, but I feel like that's kind of our best shot. What are your thoughts?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, what were you saying? I zoned out there.
I think our best shot at having a viable future is if the United States evolves into a millet system or techno-feudal.
Oh, a millet system
empire.
or techno-feudal. Yeah, I mean, the techno-feudal empires are going to be the ones that survive.
Yeah. And I mean, you can also see like the EU is failing because they are trying to do the opposite of that. They're trying to use a centralized bureaucratic body to control things, to regulate things. And that's not working. Nepal was trying to centrally control its people. China, to a great extent. China is actually an interesting case because it has set up some kind of charter city like tech cities.
Yeah.
They're like, you do you. And that makes me think maybe you guys are going to figure this out. Like China could figure it out through those pathways. Who knows? So but yeah, that's what I think the leading indicator is going to be.
Focus on AI, which is really important if you're thinking about the future. So we'll see. Anyway, I love you to death, Simone.
Love you too.
That's how we save the world. You just figured it out. You solved it.
You're welcome.
For dinner tonight, we are reheating the bulgogi, the dish you made yesterday. It's Korean.
The horrible thing is I want to keep saying bukkake, and I don't.
Rice noodles.
Bulldog.
It means fire chicken.
ULDAK. Fire chicken.
And they put mozzarella on top, and it's just spectacular.
Yeah.
It's like a very sweet, spicy dish with a lot of cheese, and just like a better.
Yeah, it's basically marinated tiny chicken chunks, which you can also add onion and other things, but we didn't. Marinated in chili flakes, gochujang sauce, brown sugar, honey, pepper, like some other seasonings, and then sauteed and then broiled under mozzarella cheese. It's such fusion, right? Because it's not like mozzarella.
Are you going to put it in like a new bowl to broil it? Because I don't think
I refrigerated it in a ramekin, and I'm going to put it in the air fryer to melt the cheese on top. After
that'll work really well, I think.
Yeah, I'm gonna pop it in the microwave for like 1 minute to get it warm from the inside, because I don't want just like a burned top and then a cold inside.
Yeah, well, I also think that will it melt the cheese, right? I mean, it should. We're doing wet cheese this time, and so the goals.
Yeah, I'm gonna do a low air fryer setting.
And I wouldn't mind it dehydrating a little bit. I think that'd
be
pretty
good. So it's mostly gonna just warm and dehydrate and slowly melt the cheese. But yeah, I mean, as you know, when you have what's it called, pizza margherita, that's the same kind of high moisture mozzarella cheese circles that you see on that. I prefer grated mozzarella that's low moisture, but like, I think this will work perfect, especially for the ramekins, in which I
100% agree. Yeah.
The leftover.
And people who are helping with the development of our like AI chat adventure engine on our fab.ai, I really appreciate it. I know it's very buggy right now. All the feedback you give when you run into bugs or run into issues or features that you want is incredibly helpful on us making this type of project that we can then pay to advertise one day, like a real product. But I feel like we're close to that, you know.
I'm so
And
excited.
people are like, why don't you pay to advertise the school because it works much better? And it's like, well, because the school is good, and I want you guys to have access to that, and I want your kids to have access to that. This Paresia.io, but it's very hard to make money off of educational products. So
Yeah,
we're
you
just
just
gonna keep
don't.
that.
You don't. We learned after like doing a lot of venture capital outreach and networking with other people who are working on schools and trying to sell them to school districts and private schools and homeschooling groups that basically you don't make money in this space. No one makes money in this space unless you're like one of the really big players that has spent, 5 years and huge amounts of capital in a sales team and basically just juicing the system and using weird arbitrage opportunities. Like schools have all these weird funds that various laws have appropriated, and you don't necessarily know where these existed. Like there are some underperforming schools that have, through various bits of legislation and policy, been basically given like slush funds of like, spend this money on this kind of tutoring to fix your underperforming schools. And then so there are these secret schools that you have to know how to look for that just have money to burn on products that you can be like, this product is for that money thing that you need to burn, and then you can sell to them. It's not based on merit. It's not based on you actually like, I mean, you should have case studies showing that you can solve the problem, but it's more based on finding these arbitrage opportunities. And I hate industries like that. We just want a product that people find useful that they can use. So at least your NSFW AI will give the people what they want.
It's the adventure mode is more fleshed out than the not safe for work section, by the way.
I know, but I'm much more interested in exploring more the not safe for work.
I fixed the not safe for work engine creator, by the way, for people who were using it before. It wasn't working very well because it still had safe for work language in, and that's all been fixed and updated. And I'm continuing to work on improving that. Like this is going to improve something because I work on this every day. I want this to be good, and I want people to see it and be like, that's a really solid product right there. I enjoy going on isekai adventures in AI worlds.
I'm excited for it. Eventually, maybe you'll have a version that like literally creates the manga, like the illustrated panels as you go.
I would love that. And we're looking at doing art creation next is the next feature we're going to add. And well, not the very next. The very next one is we're going to do streaming responses because right now it outputs the entire response in a block. So it'll just feel like it's responding much quicker to people.
I don't mind the wait times, honestly. But anyway, I'm going to look for a missing plug and then get the kids and make your dinner. And I love you so much.
You are an amazing wife. I am so excited for dinner. Oh, and use about 20% more cheese than you did last time.
I will happily do that.
Because the cheese is amazing. And we've got some fresh chives. Chop up some chives and put them
Yes, I forgot to do that last night. It was a little chaotic downstairs.
Another thing I'd put on as an extra ingredient is poppy seeds.
You mean sesame seeds?
Sesame seeds, yeah.
Words.
Shut up.
I love you in words. I love when you mispronounce
things. I don't love you. I actually think you're a disgusting monster. And
that's accurate. That's just the truth.
On the video we did today, you loved it so much. I've got to do this on multiple videos. It's so good. It's the Torsten being like,
I just hear the beat and I have to dance.
I can't stop dancing. The beat's in my body.
Oh my God, Torsten. Yeah.
You must have heard that somewhere is all I can think.
I don't know, man. The kid he loves to dance. He loves EDM. I don't know where that came from. He loves electro swing too, though. And glitch hop.
I just hear the beat. It's taking over my body.
It's great. I should play more music for him.
By the way, we weren't playing music.
No, it was just in his head. Come on, he's the originator of doot 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 in our house. Like he's always like got a tune in his head. And he makes little sound effects for everything he does. Even chewing.
Hitting.
Yeah. Yeah, we know when he's hitting someone, even if he's in another room, because he goes, he's this like little cartoon voice. He's like a little cartoon human. None of our other kids are cartoon humans, but he definitely 100% is.
Anyway, love you to death, Simone.
I love you too. Thanks for giving birth to a cartoon.
You're the one who gave birth to him, you nutter.
Oh, I mean, he's both of us. You know what I mean. He hatched out of the Malmone egg.
Oh, by the way, are you ready for revolution in the United States?
Everyone says we're already in a civil war. We are killing each other.
The lamest civil war ever.
There are flags. I was going to say, well, there are no flags, right? But no, there are flags. There are leaders. There are battalions. Maybe they're
Well,
right.
I saw another video of somebody who tore down a Trump flag.
No, the school bus is outside. I gotta go.
Bye.
Bye. Ah.
Why can't you stop dancing?
I just hear a beat, and my body is hearing the beat.
Wait,
So I can't stop dancing.
you can't stop dancing?
Because my body can still hear the beat.
But there's no music playing, my friend.
There is. I'm not telling that there's music.
Oh, it's like in your head?
Yeah. So I can't stop dancing.
But you're a really good dancer. What does the music sound like?
It sounds like, oh yeah, I'm dancing to the beat.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, I'm dancing to the beat. I'm dancing to the beat. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Is that the song?
There's zombies. There's zombies. That's the last one. Whoa. I'm gonna go. Let me go for.
Oh, did you dance to so much you passed out?
I'll tell you. Somehow, like the beat, like the piano that was singing in my hand, just broke, and then I just stopped the dancing.
Oh, the beat broke in your head?